So he looks much younger, much healthier, of course. Like his physique is, you know, slightly less inflated. It's not as big. He still looks fucking huge by all means, but it's not like as impressive, I guess, as it once was. And here he is, cranked out of his goddamn gourd, and he has this like mean mug. He's like, what the fuck are you looking at, bro? Get off my bench. That is the face he's making. What's up guys, it's Eric, moreplaysmore8s.com. Today we're talking about Larry Wheels' dramatic before and after. Notably, not just his physique, his face. He has recently posted, "Swipe to see how peak steroid abuse aged my face. Luckily, the effects were reversed. First swipe is current condition." So this is him now, looking pretty healthy, look pretty fucking yoked still, pretty lean. And this is Bomb, looking like the angry dad of his current self. Or the older brother who would shit on himself. I don't know, something. But he definitely looks, you know, healthier, younger, whatever. Comment section, looking young and handsome. Only pre-workout and protein bars from now on to give us skinny boys a chance. Cat emoji. Face gains. Damn, bro, health first. I hope you're doing good. Damn, it made you look old. Bro turned into an angry bird. Lighting and angles are magical. Yes, steroids can age you, but there's no difference in your face that's significant or not from the lighting/angle. Looking fresh now, my man. It's also edited. Respect for posting this. Hopefully young people will think about this and realize hopping on gear isn't worth it if you're not competing. Thank you for your honesty. This is a major way you can tell who's using or abusing. How much TRT were you on again? So, if you don't know, recently Larry has stopped steroids. He had a video, you know, pop off about how he basically discontinued his abuse. Now, however, it's like a little bit of a clickbait title because he's remaining on TRT. And obviously, you know, when it comes to TRT, the dosage being used is going to be different depending on the individual and what actually achieves symptom relief. And ideally, you know, whatever the lowest effective dose is for you is that actually relieves your symptoms and achieves a high level of vitality, quality of life that is symptom free, would be like your therapeutic replacement amount that you would have otherwise needed to produce naturally to achieve that same outcome. So arbitrary dosage requirements are like, cannot be put, you know, cookie cuttered across the planet for every single man. So at some part in this video, he actually talks about my replacement protocol. I believe it might be this one or another one, but he talks about a video I did a while ago. I also did an article on my website about trying to get what my blood levels were. I believe it was like either 10 or like 12 to 13 milligrams a day or something of like test prop. It might have been 10 milligrams a day. I was trying to see how low I could get my weekly burden dosage with still achieving symptom relief and getting as close to like natural endogenous levels as possible. However, that is still not representative of natural activity because you don't have these dips, spikes, valleys, etc. like you would have with a natural diurnal rhythm. So regardless if your total T on paper is like 600 and it looks supernatural, not supernatural, but like it looks very natural, that is still more performance enhancing than if you had a 600 coming out of your balls. Reason being is this is going to be maintained and sustained regardless if you have a night out of hardcore drinking with your buddies, if you have a shitty sleep, if you're micronutrient deficient, etc. You are manually maintaining those levels chronically, perpetually. Quick note from today's sponsor, Manscaped. It was just Smooth Sack Summer and we're coming to a close now on Smooth Sack Summer. So what's that mean for fall? Well, they don't actually have a description of what fall is gonna be called, but presumably it's Smooth Sack Fall, bro, even though it doesn't sound as good. And it's gonna be Smooth Sack Winter soon too. Why? Because you should never not have a smooth sack. Because what are you doing if you do not? Like, it's not a good look, bro, you know? You gotta be trimmed below the waist, have everything in tip-top condition from a hygiene perspective. It just makes no sense why any guy wouldn't be manscaping in this day and age. And this is the leader in men's below the belt grooming with their turnkey, comprehensive grooming packages like this one. This is the one that I would recommend you getting. It is the Performance Package 4.0 that has everything you need to prepare that fall bod, bro. Not summer bod, fall this time. Inside the package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear hair and nose hair trimmer, crop preserver, ball deodorant, crop reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold everything. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer is the 4th iteration of their consistently updating to be the top of the game trimmer. It features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin safe technology. I'm sure you've probably had a nick or two back in your day, as have I, or brutal chemical burns from Nair, or some other brutal incident. So you want to avoid that and use something reliable, bro. Did I mention the trimmer is waterproof too? Beach, lake, shower, whatever. The shower will devour even the strongest pubes. So you're good to go. Now you out there with the strongest pubes, no match for this thing. Now that you have the perfect haircut, use Manscaped's liquid formulations to keep that freshness even at the hottest barbecues or in the fall equivalency. Most importantly, use a crop preserver ball deodorant to stay cool in the heat. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Boxers and Shed travel bag to bring your comfort to the next level. So you can check it out if you want to support me, help support me whenever you use these codes, which then indirectly bolsters the growth of the channel. It's obviously much appreciated when you guys use stuff that supports me, and I don't really feature products that I don't think have utility or crossover with what I'm interested in or find actual value in myself anyways. So I imagine a lot of you guys are probably in a similar boat and might find some value from this. So you can check it out, 20% off plus free shipping with the code Derek at manscaped.com. It is smooth sack fall, boys. Get on board or get left behind. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. And not only are you maintaining them perpetually, but you are not only completely immune to any sort of activity that might otherwise cause them to get suppressed. But in addition to that, they're like stable at 600 or 700, whatever it is that you're doing, as opposed to if you were naturally, even if your lifestyle was on point and you naturally had a 700, that 700 is only at one part of the day. You have these dips, spikes, troughs, valleys, spikes, blah, blah, blah. These are not going to maintain perfect, stable concentrations for the entirety of the day. This is going to be based on a pulsatile nature from your internal circuitry, your HPTA, and your feedback system. So the actual TRT itself is not really, it is replacement, but it's not actually the same, and it can never be equated to the performance you would otherwise get from a natural production of that same amount on paper. A snapshot in time of a total T of 700 is not the same as a total T exogenously administered from a syringe with an ester, which is like stably released for the entirety of your fucking use, depending on your frequency of administration, of course. But again, ultimately, there is no suppression whatsoever because you're fucking shut down when you're using it, and it's stable for your administration frequency. So it is not really comparable whatsoever, despite the fact that on paper, it might look the same. So when he mentions this in this video, he is basically representing it like he is stopping anything that is performance enhancing. So it's like, yes, he's not going to super physiological doses of test anymore, even though I'm sure his dose is still probably putting him at like high normal or higher than his natural production would be, which is fine. He can do whatever he wants. Like his lifestyle definitely is something that would need some sort of support to maintain a semblance, like a good chunk of what he has. If he actually came off cold turkey and stopped injecting entirely though, once his HPTA kicks back in, everything is cleared a system that's synthetic, like he would absolutely be losing more than he would on exogenous replacement. That's just a guarantee at the end of the day. So in this video, it is slightly misrepresenting the situation in which he is manually achieving a synthetic level that is still at the high end of normal, as opposed to doing synthetic levels of abusive territory with synthetic anabolic agents on top of a high dose of testosterone that is above what you can naturally produce. That is understood, but let's reel this back into what the reality of the situation is. He has stopped abusing steroids, but he is now basically achieving a synthetically induced high normal state with a bioidentical hormone administration pattern. That is basically what it is. So there still will be some ergogenic properties above baseline. Of course, he's going to maintain a good chunk of muscle more than he would if he was just straight up natural. That is definitely the case. He will maintain more strength than he would if he was just straight up natural without injecting anything. Absolutely the case as well. So when he mentions here, just a couple months later, again, this is not that long ago, that all of the effects of anabolic steroids have been reversed. And he's been using for what, almost a decade or something? So he looks much younger, much healthier, of course. Like his physique is, you know, slightly less inflated. It's not as big. He still looks fucking huge by all means, but it's not like as impressive, I guess, as it once was. And here he is, cranked out of his goddamn gourd, and he has this like mean mug. He's like, what the fuck are you looking at, bro? Get off my bench. That is the face he's making. So did he reverse all of the anabolic steroid induced oxidative stress, you know, lack of autophagy that is occurring from his mTOR being like perpetually stimulated around the clock, being in a heightened level of sympathetic drive that is not allowing him to get into a state of like parasympathetic rest and digest and like deep restorative, I don't know, recovery, rejuvenative, is that even a word? Rejuvenation type processes, the same he would with cellular cleanup and whatnot that would be conducive to longevity. Like, no, you're not going to do that in a few months at the end of the day. So while you have temporary effects that have absolutely made you look younger and healthier, younger mostly as a consequence of looking healthier, that is not representative of the burden of oxidative stress you have undergone for like 7 to 8 years. So he is absolutely, you know, without a doubt, unable to reverse everything that has happened. So luckily the effects were reversed. It's like, unfortunately, you cannot just blast gear for over half a decade and then reverse it in a matter of like 3-4+ months. That's just not the case. Now, however, when you are young and resilient, you absolutely can tolerate drug use better. You can absolutely have recovery of certain things through cellular cleanup that otherwise maybe you don't have as much of a pool of resources to achieve, you know, anti-aging outcomes when you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, etc. And we do absolutely see guys who come off of gear who look younger in a quick period of time, but it says it's a consequence of the lack of temporary things associated with androgens being present anymore. Like when you come off gear, you're going to lose a ton of water retention, or you're going to lose a significant, maybe you start growing some of your hair back. Like so there's a lot of shit that goes into it that is temporary. And now again, obviously, you know, hair loss is a very permanent thing, but there are a lot of things associated with androgen use at heightened levels that will make you look older. If you're like contest shredded and you have like a death face and you look gaunt as fuck in the face, but you still have like this extra, you know, mineral retention, nitrogen retention, your fucking blood pressure's through the roof, like whatever it is. Like these are all things that are going to be conducive to a more unhealthy, aged look. Look at Vigorous Steve here. Now, of course, he's somebody who is highly regulating of those things. Like he stays on top of his health when he's on shit. But when he comes off, he still looks much younger. Like this was him on gear. But again, in like, you know, striking distance of stage ready condition as far as I can remember. And this is him in heavy down lighting, trying to make his physique look as detailed and impressive as possible. And yeah, that's not the most flattering thing for your face, of course. And then he's here in more flattering lighting. He's lost like, you know, 20+ pounds of lean tissue at this point. He's actually natural. He is actually not even on TRT at this point. And like, yeah, of course he looks younger. But if you put him under the exact same lighting, you dehydrated the shit out of him and you did all of these things, and you made him like, I don't know, like you put him on a fuck ton of stimulants and redlined his sympathetic nervous system or whatever. Like, is there a possibility he might look like pretty fucking close to this still? Like, yeah, like a lot of these processes, they can be like cosmetically, perceivably reversed to some extent through more favorable lighting circumstances. Like this guy said down here, lightings and angles are magical. Yes, steroids can age you, but there's no difference in your face that's significant or not from the lighting angle. So I wouldn't say there's no difference, but he's absolutely on point that he did not really reverse anything that is permanent, in my opinion. I believe there is absolutely a resource bank of anti-inflammatory things in your body that can deal with, you know, or I should say pro-oxidant things, antioxidant type activities that are going to be more robust when you're younger and capable of dealing with it. So if you have a heightened androgen burden from anabolic steroid abuse, of course, your body is going to be in like a deficit of like actually being able to sustain like a timeline of normalized chronological age development. So you're probably going to expedite your biological age faster than your actual chronological age when you're abusing the shit of androgens. That's like pretty goddamn hard to avoid, I would probably say, for the majority of people. But once you get back down to a baseline of hormone exposure that is either representative of natural output or slightly above that maybe, or you're natural again, you stop injecting, obviously that deficit is way different. You don't have like you're not smashing your body with ridiculous amounts of androgens anymore. Rather, you're now like way closer to homeostasis or even at homeostasis. And when you're still in your like barely late 20s, like of course your resource bank of antioxidant activity, all of these things that are going to be restorative and, anti-aging, more so preventative, but also slightly anti-aging given the deficit you just came from, like of course there's going to be you're going to look way healthier. That's just like the inevitable outcome. I don't think you're going to magically take like literally like 5 years of oxidative stress off of your face, but you are absolutely going to look healthier, and as a consequence of that, perhaps look multiple years younger in a matter of months. But you are not going to reverse the effects of anabolics, and don't go into this thinking that if I'm in my early 20s, I can blast the fuck out of myself, get huge amounts of progress, and then within a few months go down to TRT and take off every single bit of damage that I did. That's simply not the case. So I've done videos on this too before. Like for example, I did this video on tretinoin. This was like my foray into like skincare because it's something that I've heavily neglected, and I definitely regret that. And obviously there has been some like permanency of aging even among anyone who's done this shit, realistically. Some people are far more resilient than others, of course, though. Like Regan Grimes comes to mind as a guy who literally actually looks his age. Like there are very few open bodybuilders who use the dosages that open bodybuilders use that still look their age. Like there are a lot of mid-20s guys in the IFBB who literally look like they're 40 years old. Like that's just the reality of the situation for certain genetic profiles. Now for Regan, fortunately, maybe it's just the young structure of his face. He has that face that doesn't really get that death, like sucked in look. Maybe that's it, I don't know. But there are very few individuals that are going to be completely immune to the, expedited aging perceivably from a cosmetic level of this stuff. And even like for me, I didn't blast the fuck out of myself for years on end, but I still had like very, very pro-aging outcomes. And I would argue, to be honest, most of it though came from like ridiculous sun exposure concurrently with the anabolic exposure. But I made this video and it was kind of like a little bit of the same thing. Like, did I reverse all of this shit? Like I looked like a goddamn like Emperor Palpatine, bro, back in May 2017. And I actually wasn't abusing shit at this point. This was just like, I had really deep nasolabial folds from my CPAP mask, which at the time I was using a full face one. I then switched to a nasal one. Not just for this, but for other like actual health related reasons. I believe nasal breathing is something that should be encouraged if possible. And that, largely having something not indented on my face for 8 hours a night, made these far less significant, which was in itself obviously helpful for looking more healthy and younger. And then just the lighting and shit and how lean I was in the video. Like a lot of it is just a correlation behind like the bodybuilding lifestyle and things you're doing that are associated with it that make you look worse ultimately. Like things that might be more flattering for your body, for example, are not going to be as flattering for your face, and vice versa, I guess, in some circumstances. So in this, I basically talked about, my updated skincare regimen. The lighting was pretty fucking brutal in this one. It was mainly just about like the CPAP stuff, the nasal breathing, CPAP mask stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I was going into my tretinoin use, which by the way, something that is probably one of the few things that actually makes an impactful difference in my opinion on like anti-aging outcomes. If you guys have any experience with it, drop it down below. But ultimately, no, you're not going to be able to take anabolics and get off scot-free just because you're in your 20s still and, blast the fuck out of yourself and then come off. So a little bit of, I don't know if Larry Wheels really knows what he's done or not done, because it's not like you have an A-B split test here that you can actually see. Like, what would my face look like now if I didn't take anything ever versus now that I'm on TRT? Like, I can almost guarantee you look older than you would have if you didn't take anything. That's just the reality of this stuff, and I don't think it's something that you can really get away from, to be honest. You can do things to mitigate and attenuate it, which is absolutely recommended. Having a high density of micronutrients in your diet model, getting your antioxidants in, getting high quality, restful, good quality sleep, not just being in bed for 8 hours and thinking you slept for 8 hours, but actually addressing, do you have sleep apnea? What is your REM and deep sleep metrics like relative to the actual time you're in bed? What does your circadian rhythm look like? Are you getting to bed at 3 a.m. every night versus 10? Are you smashing your eyes with blue light every night right before you go to bed and going to bed stressed with your phone like right beside you buzzing off the chain while you're sleeping? etc. Like there's so many things that go into it, and ultimately like that's stuff that's gonna be impactful on your ability to mitigate and attenuate the damage, but the damage is fucking there, and you're not gonna do anything that is going to completely negate it entirely, unfortunately, because it's just a level of exposure that your body is just frankly not capable of withstanding. So that is, and when I say withstanding, I don't mean you're literally gonna like fucking spontaneously combust from like stress of anabolics, but I mean like, you know what I mean? Like you're not gonna totally avoid any level of cardiovascular degradation that would have been, you know, like the absolute exact same equivalency as a natural. The likelihood and probability of that, I would say, is low. But fortunately, if you like are forced upon this lifestyle, because this is literally your profession or whatever, there are things you can do that definitely minimize the damage, but there is absolutely a risk of this damage occurring, and it's not necessarily reversible in a matter of months. So anyways, take from that what you will. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, or the comments up the algorithm. Much appreciated. Like, subscribe. Check out my blog, moreplatemordates.com. Follow me on Instagram, @platemordates. Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. My preventative medicine and hormone replacement therapy platform, Gorilla Mind, nootropic formulas, Gorilla Mode, pre-workout formulas that design myself, anything else I'm associated with, recommended hair loss prevention products, clothing company that sponsors me, my recommended diet model for gaining muscle and sports performance whilst being mindful of things like micronutrient intake. I believe Larry Wheels, in one of the early phases of his career when he was building up the majority of his strength and size, he actually used the vertical diet pretty exclusively back when Stan was training Hapflor, Brian Shaw, Wheels, among numerous other individuals. So it is absolutely a diet model that I think is worth checking out if you are a strength-based or performance-based or bodybuilding-based athlete who is also mindful of trying to minimize the stress and damage of this lifestyle. And anything else I'm associated with, it is all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.